Hello. So this week, I'm starting a reading vlog. I guess it's gonna be a weekly reading vlog. I don't really know. I'm really bad at filming during the week. But this is gonna be a weekly reading vlog celebrating Women in Translation Month. And I'm really excited about it. So my TBR for this week, I don't know how many of these I'm actually gonna get to, but this is the possibility pile, basically, and we'll go through them. So this, again, TBR for the week. I'm gonna start with this book, which was the Women in Translation Month, what was it, like a group pick or the monthly pick that Matthew Sharapa did, insert literary pun here, and Kendra, Winchester selected. So I just picked it up because it was their pick. I had no idea what this was about when I bought it, and it's called Fieldwork in Ukrainian Sex by Oksana Zabuzhko. I really hope I pronounced that correctly, but it's translated by Halyna Hryn. Yeah, it's translated by Halyna Hryn. I honestly thought I again had no idea what this was about when I bought it. I just bought it because it was the group pick, and I thought that it was about, like, my guess based off the title was it was about like sex work in the Ukraine. I don't think that's what this is about at all. I think this is about a woman who had like an abusive partner when she was living in the Ukraine, and now she's living in New York, somewhere in the United States on the East Coast, and she's like tied up in academia or something. Is she a poet? I'm not sure. And she is comparing her new lover to the one that she had in the Ukraine. I still don't know what this is about, okay? So hopefully once I read it, I'll be able to give you like more of an idea of what this is about. But anyways, this is the one I'm going to start with. I think it's a beautiful cover as well. And then we have 3 more here, which I actually picked up because I love Elena Ferrante. I saw something on Instagram, which I'll try to put up somewhere, but I saw something on Instagram that was Elena Ferrante recommending books by women writers, and most of them were translated. Some of them were originally written in English. Elena Ferrante writes in Italian anyway, but anyway, a lot of them were translated and are available translated from their original language into English. I think all of them were actually. And I picked up a lot of books from that list, and I thought, these are 3 of them, and I thought that this month would be the perfect opportunity to like highlight these particular books. And the reason I picked these 3 from the other ones that I picked up are because they're shorter. You know, they're a little bit shorter, so maybe I can read more in this week. We have Family Lexicon by Natalia Ginzburg. This is, I believe, translated from the Italian by Jenny McPhee. And this is about an Italian family that has specific routines and rituals. And I think this is set during Mussolini's Italy, a steady downward descent to race law and World War, and it's about a family during that time. I don't know, Elena Ferrante recommended it, okay, so there it is. Then we have another NYRB book. I love this publisher. We have The Door by Magda Szabo, with an introduction by Ali Smith, who's one of my favorite writers, but this is translated from the Hungarian by Len Rix. I believe this is about a relationship between like a wealthy woman who is a writer. Her name is Magda, so I don't know, self-insert, I don't know. Married to an academic, and she has a housekeeper, and it's like about their relationship with each other, like their friendship, I think. Yeah, and how class, like the class disparity there. I don't know. I'll let you know when I finish it. So that's The Door. I've never read Magda Szabo, but I know that she is a very revered writer. And then I have one of my favorite writers of all time, that is The Passion According to G.H. by Clarice Lispector, which is translated from the Portuguese by Idra Novey. Again, don't fully know what this is about, but a well-to-do Rio sculptress sees like a bug die and has like a mystical internal crisis or something like that. Honestly, that doesn't really say much, but it really piques my interest. and I love Clarice Lispector, so I'm excited to get to this. But yeah, this is my possibility pile for the week, starting with this one. Yeah.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Maybe the birds will sing about your heart. Maybe the trees will whisper the word. Maybe the sun will spread your joy to the ones who lost their hope. Fill my head with roses. I can't help but dream away. Standing on a field with you and flowers everywhere. Maybe there is a star with your name. One thing I know is that there should be. There is no one who has a heart as pure, no, not like yours.
So I thought I'd update you. Looking fly. I thought I'd update you while meal prepping because that's what I'm doing. I'm making garlic. Well, I already made the chicken. I'm making garlic butter chicken and some garlic and kale pasta. So that's fun. But I did finish Fieldwork in Ukrainian Sex by Oksana Zabuzhko, translated by Halyna Hryn. This was super short. It was about like 160-ish pages. It was very stream of consciousness, very poetic. I feel like the passion and like anger about life and being alive and being a woman and just being a poet and just the human condition was so visceral while reading this. That being said, it wasn't like my favorite book of all time. Like I liked it, I appreciated it. I feel like the emotions were communicated so starkly. So we follow our main character, who I think her name is also Oksana. So I think it's like semi-autobiographical, I'm assuming. I don't know, is it supposed to be autobiographical? I don't know, I'm not sure. But that makes sense, right? She is from the Ukraine. She's a poet. And in the beginning, she was talking about like performing in the like her native language and how people are expecting her to speak in Russian, but it's, you know, about being a Ukrainian. And then she's in the United States, and it reads a lot how like we experience memory, wherein it's very non-linear and you kind of are feeling something intensely in the moment when you're not physically present in that moment in real life. Like a memory, you know what I mean? Oh my gosh, my pasta is bubbling. Oh my gosh. Yeah, totally forgot what I was saying. But memory, something about memory. It was a lot about, okay, so our main character, and I think our author too, she's like she's a poet. You know how there's just certain people in life that like, everybody experiences intense emotions and feelings like in their lives. But I feel like there's definitely a scale of sensitivity, obviously. And I feel like, as one would imagine, artists or poets feelings are on the very extreme side of that sensitivity scale. You definitely got that with our narrator, and they're very emotionally perceptive, but almost experiencing things in a very, I'm calling it a Byronic way, you know, where, oh, that's the air conditioning if you hear it, so sorry, it's really hot, so I'm not turning it off. Yeah, where it's almost like things can never be the ideal, or like the way that we want life to be romanticized, but it inevitably is not romanticized. This is just the tone that I was vibing with while reading this. It's like life can never be the ideal, so then you have this like intense suffering from just experiencing reality. Does that make sense? Anyway, so that's Fieldwork in Ukrainian Sex. I do want to read a couple of things that I highlighted just so you kind of have an idea of how intensely it's beautiful, but also intense and very emotive the prose are. Oh, I really like this. So there's like moments where she puts a little poem that she's experiencing something in real life, and then it's like the poem that she's writes after then, like of her feelings in that moment, you know. So it is, how strange it is, a girl, a child, an expression of dissatisfaction on her face. First straighten out this life, then call me in. You little doll, you tiny person, forgive. A world who knows when painted last, your parents who threw you in here, as though your death on a barren field, okay, start growing. So was on page 100. And then also on page 100, a little snippet that I highlighted. And everything else all over the world was carried away by water. Some kind of nameless people populated this world. They yearned for something, they loved and they suffered. And only the scattered, wet traces of voices, wails, were left in their wake. You can only drink from those tiny tracks. You can only feel that your own suffering, illuminated for an instant by a late setting ray of meaning, is not the only one out there, not the first nor the last. And then the sentence continues. There were really beautiful moments of emotional insight that really communicated the pain of the human condition. If I were to read excerpts of this, I would be like, oh my goodness, that's gonna be my favorite book of all time, because the quotes that you can pull out of this are like phenomenal. But I feel like as a whole, and I love reading stream of consciousness, like if someone says this is stream of consciousness, I'm like, oh my god, buzzword, add to cart, I already bought it, oh my gosh. But I feel like this was almost, I don't want to say incoherent at some points, but almost too chaotic in the way that it was communicating her experiences. What I love so much about reading classic literature, or literature across different time periods, and also literature from different parts of the world, so in this case, right, it's Women in Translation Month, so translated literature, the connection of the human spirit is, I mean, there are no borders to that. Do you know what I mean? And what I was saying, we experience emotions on a scale of sensitivity, but we all experience these same emotions, and that's what I think is so beautiful about art. And again, for me specifically, it's written art, so poetry, short stories, and long form prose. I mean, you can feel someone trying to communicate an emotion to you through paintings, through music. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to connect, and it's such a beautiful thing how different things can look and sound, but yet they're all have that same undertone, can sometimes have that same undertone to it, you know? It's like a pleading to be recognized, but also to be recognized and to recognize yourself and others, or just, I don't know what I'm saying, I'm going off on a tangent, but anyways, I thought that was really great, but like, not my favorite of all time, but great.
Dreaming of you. What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars.
had to document this glorious evening because I just feel so peaceful, okay? Oh, here comes Watson. It's making it even better. I got home from work, cleaned up a little bit, and then I ordered sushi, and so I've been eating. Here comes Watson. Hi, you want some fish? You can't have the fishies. It's spicy. Hi, mister. And I'm eating my sushi and reading, still reading The Door by Magda Szabo. It's been taking me longer than I thought just because, I don't know why, it just is, okay? I should finish it shortly. I should finish it tonight, but I've highlighted so many things in this book. It's really, really interesting to think about. Yeah, it's an interesting read. So we follow, well, it's from the perspective of this woman who's like a famous writer, and Watson's making biscuits in my blanket. Hi, are you baking? Who cares about books? I mean, Watson, you know what I mean? But we hear from the perspective of this woman who's a famous writer who also goes by the name, I think, of Magda. And she's married and she hires a housekeeper to help keep the house, you know, because her and her husband are busy working. They have like upper class jobs, you know? The housekeeper, Emrance, who's the sole focus, basically, of this book. She is admired by everyone in the community. She's the hardest working person ever. She's older, but she's a very unique and interesting character because she doesn't, the roles are almost reversed. Like, she'll tell her employer, like, when she's coming to work. She lets no one into her home, like no one in the whole city. No one's seen inside her house. She has a lot of boundaries, but then at the same time, she's incredibly generous. A lot of this book, because a lot of it does kind of hold the magnifying glass up to, or is commenting a lot on class divide and what people deem important or socially better than something else, you know? Emrance makes comments a lot about not trusting people unless they have, like, they work with their hands, or people who are carpenters or sweep for themselves, or bakers, and what you know, people who use their hands and do more so like manual labor. That concept between like those different careers and her making comments about not really trusting someone unless they like did manual labor and stuff like that really had me thinking about The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot, because there was the thing that I think about the most actually in that book is when the brother, and I totally don't remember his name, but the brother of our main character, the family was like losing their mill for financial reasons, and the brother, he was being educated in like the classics and traditionally formally educated. He thought that was impractical. Like, he wanted to learn a practical skill, like go into the business kind of side of things. I think that his uncle was doing or something, because to him, knowing these things like about the classics, like the Iliad and the Odyssey, and knowing poetry and having all this formal classical education didn't give him any practical skills to like actually go and make money. And what's the point of knowing all those types of things when really people just need to be able to survive almost and keep up their lives essentially. And how people, and then that also makes me think about a movie that I saw, which I forget what it was called, but it was during the movie was set during the Holocaust, and like a group of people had to go live in the forest, and the people who like made more money, that were of the higher class, couldn't really help out at first and like keep everyone alive and help the group survive. It was more so the people who were farmers or knew how to build stuff, you know what I mean? And this book's making me think about that, like where we place value in society when what humans actually need, like as animals, what we need to survive are more these practical skills that people just don't place as much value in, you know? I'm gonna eat my sushi and keep reading. Okay, so I finished The Door. I just finished it. Star rating, 4 stars, okay? I don't think that I mentioned before, but this book was published in 1987 when Hungary was under communist rule. So there's lots of themes of that kind of going on in here. Blah, blah, blah. My thoughts are all over the place. What did I think? Starts a line in the beginning. Our narrator says, "I killed Emrys." I mean, she didn't physically kill Emrys, but her actions kind of led to her spiritual demise, and then therefore her physical demise. There's a line in here, so this is one of my favorite lines in the book, not because it was the most poetically or beautifully written, but because I feel like it was very significant, and it just strikes me. Okay, it's on page 200, and the quote is, "No matter what she might say, her credibility had been destroyed by the stench that had poured out of her home and the dirt that remained there to be cleaned." So this is, just for some context, this is after Emrys was found after her stroke in her apartment, and she couldn't take care of herself, so she was living in her own filth. And she had spent her whole entire life being this person, being this Christ-like figure, or being this person that never faltered and never failed and was always basically there for others and holding everything up. When that was all kind of blown to smithereens, when she was then seen in a state where she was no longer retaining that, I'm gonna say, pristine appearance. It's like if you don't have if you can't appear to be perfect, if you don't appear beautiful or perfect, then the integrity of your spirit then kind of doesn't matter. That's that. I don't know which book I want to pick up next. I have these two. I am definitely not going to get to both of these before the end of this week. Obviously, Clarice Lispector is one of my favorite writers, so perhaps I'm leaning towards this one, but then at the same time, sometimes when I really love an author, I really am excited about reading a book, I put off reading it because I'm so nervous it's gonna let me down, you know? It's like this one, yeah, I'm excited to read it. It comes recommended by Elena Ferrante, so I'm hoping it's good, but at the same time, it's not something that I'm like dying to get to, so I feel like I have less to be let down by if it doesn't particularly strike me. So I don't know which one I want to read. I probably, if I'm being true to myself and my soul and my spirit, it's probably gonna be this one. I don't know. We're gonna vibe it out. We're gonna vibe it out. Vogue. I was gonna start this, but I got a notification that I have to do a sexual harassment training thing for work for the next hour of my life. Like me, a young 20-something-year-old girl needs to be taught what it is to be sexually harassed. So I am sitting here with it silently playing on my phone, and I am speaking in a British accent, apparently, because I am reading on free Google Books. A book that I just heard of in a video on YouTube. I literally cannot stop speaking in this accent, so we're just gonna go with it, alright? And what am I reading? Belinda by Maria Edgeworth. She was writing in Regency times, okay? So that's what we're doing. I thought I'd let you know, and this is Watson, keeping me company. Right, Watson? Don't you dare knock over my camera, Watson. Don't you dare. I hope you don't think of going to this birth night, Lady Delacour, said his lordship. I'll give you 10 years, pursued her ladyship, still looking at Belinda. Watson, you're being a jackass. So, I am getting ready to leave the house. I'm curling my eyelashes. I started reading The Passion According to G.H. And I swear, this woman, I'm in love. I'm in love with this woman who lived in the 20th century in a completely different country to my own. Oh my gosh, I love her so much. The way that she just captures feeling and describes them so perfectly in a hurricane of words that just wash completely over you and pierce you at the same time while you're reading is insane. Like, there's no one that writes like Clarice Lispector. And you know those authors that you feel like their writing style is so freaking unique? No one else does it quite like them. And there's certain authors that are like really good, solid writers, but it's like it could kind of blend into a lot of really good, solid writers. She is just so freaking good. She's been thus far describing, I'm not that far into it, because it takes, oh my gosh, it takes a lot of concentration to do mascara. I'm not that far into it because I just feel like you have to read it slowly and let it wash over you. But she has so far been describing that feeling, that feeling when you're just in the middle of living your life, you're doing whatever, and all of a sudden you have this epiphany that completely changes you and takes you, in a sense, out of reality and out of your task. And it's almost like you feel like in those moments you have the secrets to the universe. Like you just know something so fully and completely in your whole body. And she's been describing like that basically, and how living in that state of utter knowingness, but too it's a sense of unknowing, like not knowing anything concrete, nothing you can put into words, but this overwhelming feeling that is real, that is the only thing that is true. Having that sense of knowing makes it impossible to live, almost, and she's talking about that. Oh, it's fantastic. I'm gonna go read at a cafe, probably the Barnes & Noble cafe, just because they have a Starbucks in there and I just like it in there. And yeah, I'll take you along. Okay, so it is the next day, and I just this morning finished The Passion According to G.H. by Clarice Lispector. Yesterday I went to Barnes & Noble, like I told you, and I think I showed you a little bit. I didn't buy anything, thank goodness. I didn't buy anything. I just got myself a boba and I sat there and I read for a while. And as you can see, I annotated quite a bit of this book. This book was an experience, and it was an experience that I personally loved. I knew that I would. I already know that I love Clarice Lispector because I read a few of her books. She is definitely not a writer for everyone, okay? And there's absolutely no plot to this book. Like, the word plot doesn't even freaking exist, except in the negative, like it's not there. So just thought, it's all vibe, We follow this woman. Before I started this, I was like, I don't know what this is about. It just says on the back, a woman sees a cockroach die and has like a transcendent experience. And that's literally all this is for 200 pages. She is an upper class woman. She's an artist. I believe she's a sculptor. And she explains in the beginning, in like a penthouse suite, or like the top floor of like an apartment, like a nice apartment basically. And she walks into a room where she's gonna have a new maid, and where her maid's gonna live. And she opens up a cabinet and there's a cockroach. And I think it's alive, and then she kills it. She kills the cockroach. And she just sits there. That's maybe like the first 25-ish pages. And then for the rest of the book, she's just sitting there. And it's an hallucinatory spiral of thoughts that it's just like circling a drain. And all these thoughts feel incredibly bloated. And it's just fucking beautiful writing, man. It's just beautiful writing. If you want to read something that you could highlight literally everything and pull a quote out of any page that is just such a like a wise, probing quote, that's like what this book is. I feel like the main theme or themes that kind of struck out to me, or the thing that struck out to me the most while reading this was, you know, the cockroach represented that which resides in all of us that comes from the beginning. So anything that is not, I don't even know what word to use here, anything that's not fabricated countenance. So the persona that we build up for ourselves existing in this life, that which is surrounding us and influencing us, the cockroach represents what's inside of us that's always been there, will always be there for forever and ever and ever, since before everything, since after everything, or since before everything and until after everything kind of goes away, anything tangible goes away. It's and she says in here too, it's the salt, which reminded me of Patricia Highsmith's The Price of Salt. Anyway, side note. There were a lot of references, like religious references actually in this book, or references to what is good and finding truth and walking through the desert and Christ-like images, and how she feels almost demonic and hellish, like she's in hell with these transcendent experiences that she's having. She's being taken out of life and probing and questioning, and she feels like she's really seeing the truth. I don't even know how to talk about this book. It's just vibes, man. Just read this if you want vibes. But she feels like she's getting the secrets to the universe, and she shouldn't be allowed to have them, and she feels like that's almost demonic in a way at times. Anyway, I wanted to read a few passages to you that I feel like really encapsulate the point of this book. And also I did write notes on 2 pages. I wrote notes on 2 pages that I guess I will share. I pretty much already said it. Tangible reality is fabrication. Only the nothing is existence. Everything else is fabrication. Being in nothingness. That which takes any sort of form is cultivation. It is not real. Thought is not real. We are not real. Our names are not real. The void is the universe. The void is the universe. Oh yeah, it's she was talking about name, and again, like I was saying, that persona that we build up for ourselves. It's the passion according to GH is the title of this book. And she, in the beginning, talks about a suitcase that she has that's engraved with her initials, GH, and how that is her, but that is not her. Anyway, the immortal energy that is rebirthed into all of man. The cockroach. It resides in all of us. Okay, on page 43 we have the cockroach 2. What's the only feeling a cockroach has? The awareness of living, inextricable from its body. In me, everything I had superimposed upon the inextricable part of myself would probably never manage to stifle the awareness that, more than awareness of life, was the actual process of life inside me. That was when the cockroach began to emerge. Okay, so that was page 43. And then on page 66, okay? I loved this, okay? Listen up. Go like, okay, listen. Okay, page 66. But why exactly... I need to take a deep breath. But why exactly in me had the first silence suddenly reappeared? As if a calm woman had simply been called and calmly set aside her embroidery on a chair, stood up and wordlessly abandoning her life, renouncing embroidery, love, and an already made soul, Wordlessly, that woman composedly got down on all fours, started to crawl and drag herself along with calm and sparkling eyes, because the earlier life had called her, and she went. What is it that called me? Madness or reality? Ah! Wow, you know? Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. Page 96. But no... Okay, that was difficult. But no one touches yours, unclean thing. Only another roach would want this roach. And me, who would want me today? Who had already become as mute as I was? Who, like me, was calling, fear love, and want love, and need love? Who, like me, knew that I had never changed my form since they had drawn me on the stone of a cave, and next to a man and a dog? Wow. All the blue tabs are things that I wanted to share, okay? Page 157. Nostalgia is not for the God we are missing. It is the nostalgia for ourselves who are not enough. We miss our impossible grandeur. My unreachable present is my paradise lost. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Okay. And I think I missed one, but it's okay. We're going to just keep going. Okay. Page 185, this is the last one. Only then is my nature accepted with its frightened torture, where pain is not something that happens to us, but what we are, and our condition is accepted as the only one possible, since it is what exists and not another, and since living, it is our passion. The human condition is the passion of Christ. So beautiful. I did end up giving this 4 stars, even though this book will stick with me for forever and ever, so I might end up changing it, I think, to a 5 at that point, but when I'm enough removed from it, like the problems that I had with it. So I will say that this was 200 pages of just the same thoughts, I feel like, over and over again in beautiful prose, but it felt a little bit exhausting at points, and I feel like Clarice Lispector's writing, based off my experience with her, lends itself way more so to short form. So like one of my favorite books of all time is The Hour of the Star, which is like an 80-something page novella, and that was flawless. I feel like she is more fit for that kind of length, and 200 pages, again, like I said, as a reader, was just mildly exhausting at times, so 4 stars. Read this. Read that, okay? So, the books that I finished in this vlog, I'm going to end the vlog here. We have The Passion According to G.H. We had Fieldwork in Ukrainian Sex by Oksana Zabuzhko, and The Door by Magda Szabo. And when I was at Barnes & Noble yesterday, I actually almost picked up another Magda Szabo. I wanted to get a Clarice Lispector, but they didn't carry Clarice Lispector in the Barnes & Noble. What is that about? Excuse me? Someone should put me in charge, because she would be there. But yeah, finished these. I didn't get to Family Lexicon this week, and I feel like I'm kind of ready to move on to a different topic in my personal reading life, so that's what we're gonna do. We'll come back to this at a later date in my life, but yeah, so these were the 4 I wanted to read. These were the 3 that I read, and there's just something so beautiful about woman writing. What? There's just something so beautiful about the writing and the stories and the prose that come from, and the emotion and the feeling that come from female writers. And it's such a beautiful thing to get to experience, and the privilege that we have to get to experience, my eyes are watering, I'm getting emotional, that we get to experience all these beautiful thoughts and emotions and the art from women across the whole entire, there's a hair on my face. I'm having an emotional moment. Why is there a hair on my face? Across the whole world. I think that's really, really quite something. And I feel like there is just such a deeper, sensual tone to female writing as opposed to male writers. Not to say, like, I don't want to ascribe a binary to sensual prose, but that's something that I've personally noticed, and of course I'm making a blanket statement, and there's individual exceptions to that rule that I'm now claiming. There's just something so deep and wise and emotional and sensual about female authors. There just really is. They really can capture something in literature that's entirely moving, and I just love it, and I love seeing it across the world, and the similar tones and the feelings that we all feel. Like I was saying, again, there's no border to emotion. There's absolutely none, and possible human connection, you feel? So I picked a few of these. 3 of these books I picked up specifically, like I said in the beginning, because of Elena Ferrante. So something that I saw on Instagram that I'll try to leave linked down below. But I wanted to talk about very quickly, because I don't know how much storage is left on my camera, but very quickly about the other books that I purchased and that I own and that maybe I've read from that list specifically. Now, I think there's like 40 books. There's 40 books, total on her list, 17 of which are translated from a different language into English. And I own 8 of those 17. And I read 5 of them this month. Again, 3 of them in this video. So I thought I'd walk you through the other 5. I thought I'd walk you through the other 5 that I didn't read this video. So we have A Girl Returned by Donatella di Pietrantonio, which is translated from the Italian by Anne Goldstein, I believe, who translates all of Elena Ferrante's works. She's amazing. And this, again, I read earlier this month, is about a young girl who, it reminds me of like Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I think that she was born into a family that didn't have a lot of money and they had a lot of kids, and so she was then given to an aunt who had more money and she couldn't have kids of her own and raised her, and it's about our main character's experience then being sent from the mother who raised her, which was her like biological aunt, but her mother, to her birth mother, and having to get acquainted with meeting her siblings and meeting her new mother, and it's her relationship with her 2 different mothers. It's also an interesting look at class and Italian life. This was great. I give this 5 stars. And then The Lover by Marguerite Duras, which is translated from the French by somebody. Somebody translated it from the French. Oh my goodness gracious. Translated from the French by Barbara Bray. There we go. And again, it's super short. And this was another one. So this is set, we follow a young French girl who's living in Saigon. And she has like a romantic relationship with an older Chinese man. And her family doesn't have a lot of money, but like they act like they do. And the Chinese man is quite wealthy. And he's very obsessed with her, but in like a romantic way. And it's about that relationship. And again, this one's a lot about her relationship with her mother as well. I gave this 4 stars. And this one, let's go with this one. So I've read this one a while ago. This is Cassandra by Christa Wolf, which is translated from the German by somebody. Translated from the German by Jan van Heurck. And this, I love this book. So this is a retelling of kind of after the Trojan War from Cassandra's perspective. So if you know anything about Cassandra, she has the gift of foresight, prophecy, but nobody believes her. She was cursed by Apollo. And this is following her perspective. If you like Greek mythology, which a lot of people do nowadays, that's fantastic. And then these 2, which I have not read. So we have Memoirs of Hadrian by Marguerite Yourcenar, which is translated from the French by Grace Frick, which I have not read this, but it's about the life of the Emperor Hadrian. Sounds great. And then Elsa Morante's Arturo's Island. So Arturo's Island by Elsa Morante, which is translated from, oh my gosh, Anne Goldstein translated this as well. Translated from the Italian by Anne Goldstein, which again, I haven't read this, but it's set on a remote island. And I think there's a young boy that lives on this island and it's quite secluded. He's quite lonely. And then someone comes to the island with a young wife and he feels things for this wife and it's complicated. I think. I don't know. I haven't read it. But doesn't that sound great if that's what it's about, you know? So that is that. Of course, check out Elena Ferrante herself. If you haven't, she's phenomenal. She's an Italian author. Again, all of her works are translated by Anne Goldstein. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know what you read for Women in Translation Month, if you read anything specifically for Women in Translation Month, or let me know your favorite works translated into I'm assuming you speak English, but your favorite works translated into English, written by women. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.